I think we're live now, yes? All right, hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to the first VLM webinar of 2021. Thank you for joining us today. Before we dive into today's topic and introduce our speakers, let me first take you through the technical bits of the webinar. The webinar will take about 45 minutes to an hour. After a short presentation of VLM by Chairman Frank Huele, we will have a three-way conversation on robots and fashion logistics. After this conversation, our speakers are available for all of your questions. We'd love to hear from you, so just post your questions in the chat on the right. There are also some technical details in the chat if you encounter some problems. But first things first, I'd like to give the word to Frank Huele, President of VLM.
Hello. Good morning. You're speaking with Frank Huele. I'm chairman of the VLM Community Fashion Logistics, and we have organized this webinar. Jeroen, can you show a PowerPoint slide?
It is on.
Okay. Well, I don't see it, but maybe that's my problem. Okay. If it's on, then. Well, this webinar is about Magazino and Asics and the mobile picking robot, which is used now in Krefeld, and we think it's very interesting to learn a little bit more about it. We've made the following agenda. Can you show the agenda, Jeroen?
Yep.
After my introduction, we will have a three-way conversation about the robots in the warehouse, and Jeroen Veld is chairing it, and Michael Gresco, the head of the distribution center of Asics in Krefeld, is of course joining, and also Julia Scholz, sales manager of the robots from Magazino. And after that, there will be a discussion, of course, and question and answers, and he will close up just before, say, 1:30. To explain a little bit more about the community fashion logistics, what are our goals? Well, we focus on innovation in the fashion supply chain.
Frank, are you still here? I think we have a bit of a technical problem, so I think I'm going to take over from here. Frank's offline. Sorry for that. So the fashion group of VLM is a specialized group of managers active in the fashion logistics field. The main goal of the group is to share experience and knowledge. They're organized in the LinkedIn group, but also they meet several times a year with warehouse meetings, as well as a yearly congress. Of course, given the situation that we're currently in, it's a little bit difficult, but that's why we decided to move online and try to spread the knowledge via webinars. This is the first webinar in a series that we'll do this year. Robotics is, of course, a very important topic, and that's why we decided to take this one first. Like I said, we discussed several topics on innovation, mainly about omni-channel logistics, about IT solutions, e-commerce, e-fulfillment, RFID, etc. All topics that are of importance to our members. And of course, like I said before, we visit all kind of companies and to see what best practices are being organized already. So if this appeals to you, and if you're in a Dutch-speaking part of the world, then please do reach out to us, and you're welcome to join us at any time. You can look at the VLM website, vlm.nl. And if you have ideas on future topics, then also please do share them with us. We're always open to new suggestions and people who are willing to organize them with us. So Looking at today, what are the objectives for today? What we want to do is first to get a better insight in the Asics operation. Look at why this decided to go for robots, and the discussion that we're going to have in a few minutes is mainly about the three focal fields. First of all, how the decision process. How do you come to the point that you decide to use robots in your warehouse operation? The second part, and which is also a very important part, is if you decide to do this, what is the implementation trajectory? What are the projects? What are the timelines? What are the issues that you're facing with? And the last part, what is the future outlook in robotics? What developments do both Michael from a user perspective see, as well as Julia from a producer side? What are developments that we can see in the next few years? So that's the main goal for today. So I would like to say, even though this one didn't start yet, let's dive into our discussion.
Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Julia. I'm part of the Magazino team. We are a Munich-based robotics company doing autonomous mobile pick robots. Maybe some of you already saw some nice videos where robots are picking shoe boxes, and I'm responsible for all new sales activities around Europe. So going into the warehouses, having a first warehouse check if your warehouse is ready for robotics, and how we can implement those robots, and of course also together discuss a use case and a business case to add value to your operations. So a warm welcome from my side.
Michael.
Hello everyone, as well from my side. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm Director of Distribution at Asics EMEA, sitting here in Krefeld in our European Distribution Center. And happy to share with you some insights of the joint project with Asics and Magazino.
Excellent. Michael, could you please give us a little bit more detail about your operation in Krefeld, about size, what size it is, what kind of business do you serve, etc.
Sure. Let me do that on the basis of 2 slides, if you allow. So basically, what we are looking at here in this building is around 75,000 square meters. We have a huge warehouse with 60,000 pick locations, 50,000 pallet locations, etc. pp. And we are working with around 250 people in average. As of today, there are much more in the building, but I will come to that later. Right. From Asics Krefeld here, we are basically distributing to all channels across Europe. So it's, you can imagine that we have full truckloads of wholesale, season start, drop, till reorder for our own stores, own stores in full price stores across Europe. Fast replenishment, and as well, since very recently, to be honest, we are serving the e-com channel across Europe as well from this building here. Yeah.
Do you have? Can you share some figures with us in terms of order volume, if that's possible?
Yeah, basically we do have in Asics, we do have let's say 2 warehouses in mainland Europe. One is in the south of France, which is let's say serving more the southern European market. And we are serving the total market, the countries that you see here in green, and the outbound volume, let's say per day, is definitely far above 100,000 pieces that leaves here on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay, and how much of that? How many of those are online sales, e-commerce sales?
Yeah, you can imagine that over the past year, in particular 2020, the share of, let's say, own D2C and wholesale, even brick and mortar, is reduced, and the share of e-com, being at asics.com, our own website, or even of our wholesale partners, is obviously growing a lot. I cannot tell you exactly the share right now, but definitely the share of online is growing, and which makes it, let's say, which makes the business changing, right? When you look at this building 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you give an insight in how you've implemented the tool robot and what process you outline the process where the robots are implemented?
Yeah. So basically, from a principle, let's say, we strongly believe, being a Japanese brand, we strongly believe in the Kaizen, in the continuous improvement, right? And this principle of continuous improvement and putting quality in the products as well as in our operational processes, let us start thinking about, okay, what can we do basically in our building in order to increase the flexibility in a multi-channel distribution center. And you can imagine that we have, let's say, as the business is evolving and changing more and more towards small volume parcels, but more frequent orders, more and more towards e-com, we definitely need to continuously improve that area, right? That specific part of the business. And yeah, our belief was and still is that we need to remain flexible as a distribution center, whereas the magazino robots are exactly fitting into the particular part where we need to gain a little bit more efficiency and speed, actually. So yeah, well, what we are basically doing is we are now in the area of speed and flexibility with the robots. We can benefit in multiple areas, right? So first of all, in the human capital area, right? So magazino robots will help us to not, reduce stuff and not reduce the number of people we have in the building. That's not our first aim, but the first aim is really to increase the flexibility and make the work, let's say, more easy and more better for our own people, right? Which means that we are having the magazino robots in particular for the night shifts, for the early morning shifts, for the Saturday shifts, and for the Sunday shifts even, where it's difficult or even more expensive to have humans working, right? So that's the area there. Then obviously one of the reasons was innovation, right? So looking at a distribution center like this, having let's say fancy product in the building makes us as an employer as well attractive, I hope, and as well as a motivation for our staff. That's one area as well. Yeah. And then if you want to really look into, let's say, what and how the implementation process at Asics was, I think I can show you this picture, which makes it a little bit self-explainable, because the reason why magazino is that basically you see it here. You see on the picture our shelves that existed already before in the building. And you see here our layout of the picking locations, right? And basically where the arrow is on the layout, there you see the pick card and the magazino robot, right? So basically the project started like that, that we made business cases, obviously, we discussed with the team, blah, 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 how can we do it? And then when it came to the phase of, okay, we can start now, then it was almost as easy as putting the robot into the floor, let them map the environment, let them understand the environment, how does it look like here, where can I, speed up a little bit, where I need to slow down, where do I need to pick, where I need to drop. And then we started really with the mapping phase and implementation phase and testing phase already, right? So that was quite well. Yeah, well, in terms of the project, obviously we had as well an IT implementation, right? So not only the physical implementation into the building, but as well the IT implementation, which showed us that IT is important, right? As interface building is key. So the better the interface and the more information you can have with the robot in terms of stock per location, article per location, the full inventory position, more and more information that the robot gets, the faster, the better he can operate the warehouse. and as well feedback back, right? So that was a key and essential topic. Yeah.
In a previous interview, you stated that you've looked at various automation solutions and also solutions for different kind of processes. What was the main reason behind starting with the picking process or then going to robotics itself?
No, the main reason, and as I said before, is that we have looked at our processes, in particular for the fast replenishment, small quantity orders, like e-com and fast replenishment. And there we understood for ourselves that, let's say, the picking process there is very time intensive, right? Because obviously picking a full carton of shoes for a wholesale customer is one move, and you have 12 shoe boxes in your hand, and you can put a label and put it on the bed. But to pick 12 individual e-com orders obviously takes more time, right? And this was the pain process, let's say, that we have identified in terms of performance.
Okay.
With this, let's say, was the thought started that we need to start optimizing the picking process, in particular for small quantity orders.
But I can also imagine that it gives you a lot more flexibility, given the fact that later in the day the orders come in, and you can process them at night and then ship them out at the first opportunity.
Exactly, because obviously in a situation where you have where speed is key, and that's e-com obviously and fast replenishment. There we can work overnight. As said, we can work in the early morning, and when you look at e-com, normally even you or me, we are ordering on the weekend, right? So we are using the time in the late evenings or in the weekend to place our order at Asics.com, wherever. And that is where we see as well that the orders are piling up, and having the robot here who can over the weekend and during the night, start working and start preparing the orders already, so that the humans who come in the early morning on Monday, they already can take what is picked, put it into the box, put a label on and out. And that is very important for us, obviously for our consumers and customers. Right?
And then what made you decide to go for the solution? What a lot of solutions that we've seen in the past year is goods to man solutions. This is more or less a man to good solution, similar to the human operator. But less disturbing, of course, in your setup and process. What made you decide to say, okay, I'm going for, let's say, the light solution or the easy solution to have the robot implement in my process, instead of saying I'm going for a full goods to man solution for these kind of smaller volumes?
Yeah, well, I think that we are in a situation where the market is evolving very much, and you see it. So for us, the key element is that we remain flexible, right? And we have, in particular, in this building here, in this distribution center, we have the situation that still a big portion is value-added services, is manual work, labeling, price tagging, security tagging, and things like that, where we need to remain manual, right? On the other side, in the channel of e-com, etc., we needed to improve the operations and improve really the throughput. And there we decided for Magazino, actually, because it's an investment that we are doing, which pays off quite swiftly, right? So we're looking at a horizon of really a couple of months, actually, where we see the first benefits. And that was very important for us, that we find a solution that we can bring in fastly without, investing tremendous amount of money or changing the layout. Look at the process, find a solution that fits, and let's say, gain immediately, right? Obviously, the business 5 years ago was different than today, and who knows how the business will be in 5 years. So that was for us.
Okay. One important question that came out of our community indeed was the investment question. So thank you for answering that already. But Julia, could you please elaborate a little bit more about performance figures of the robots? What are operating hours, productivities, etc.? What if you're building a business case? What figures should you calculate?
Yeah, sure. So basically, really major impact on the performance and the capacity of the robot system is how you integrate the robots. So how you design the area. So in the Asics case, we started with a really simple area, right? We wanted to start pretty fast. We have those cards. There's not much investment to be made in the infrastructure. So it's a lot about how you define the pre and downstreaming processes. For example, to give you an example, if we have like a conveyor belt, the robot can just pushes boxes constantly on this belt. And as a downstreaming process, there can be a sorter, or either for like single items, like in e-commerce, you have 60 to 80% like orders with one shoe. You can even just let the picks do the robot. The robot hands it over to a conveyor, and there's an automated packing machine afterwards. So you don't have a machine to human solutions anymore. You have a fully autonomous process, right? And this all impacts the performance of the robot, because in the process at the moment at Asics, we are sorting also per order the boxes to a specific location on the pick card. So there's an intelligence behind the robot, not just have to pick and just randomly pull the boxes on a conveyor or on a cart. The robot is even sorting the boxes to a special location. And of course, this takes more time than just pulling boxes. And but to give you a rough understanding what we see at the moment in our project, so we are around 40 to 55 picks an hour. The robot is able to work 18 hours per day. So I say the tool is more like a marathon runner than a sprinter, so it can work longer hours. But it's more like the availability is much more higher. Humans. But of course, if you see the performance on an hourly base, humans are in some processes still faster, like replenishment or other ones.
In previous sessions, the interesting figure was 1.6, right? And 1.6 is a robot can replace, in terms of performance, 1.6 people in the 2-shift model in 16 hours. Okay. And in this particular narrow case that we have here in this building, right? And that is, where the return on investment and things like that then needed. However, once, as Julia said, once we will look at the automated packing machine and an automated belt, etc., then this figure ideally will increase. There was a question, are the Magazino robots also in use for same-day shipping, so during day shifts, which I would like to reply now to, because obviously, and that is one benefit which I guess didn't mention, is that the robots are driving next to humans. So we are using them in 16 to 18 hours a day, as well during the day shift, actually. Right? So, and our aisles, and you will see it hopefully soon in the video, that our aisles are, let's say, 1 meter 60, 1 meter 65, where you can, a robot can overtake a human with a pick cart and vice versa. So that's something we are doing, and on the big field now.
But can also imagine that limits your productivity in some respect, that you cannot increase productivity all too far because you have a possibly dangerous situation, etc.
Yeah, that's true. However, the robot is very, let's say, risk averse, I would say. And believe me, I tried it very much, to speak with the robots, but definitely the robot never put me in a dangerous situation. Yeah, so that's with all the cameras and sensors that he has around him. That is really a safe game on.
And also, maybe adding to this question about the same-day shipping, I think one big advantage is the utilization of the robot system. So you can start at 5 or 4 in the morning. So there is not we want to flatten the peaks on a daily basis, right? So that you don't have those peaks or transferring to the pickers in the morning, but the robots already did an amount of orders before humans like will arrive in the warehouse. Yeah, this has a major effect also. Of course, it has to be discussed with the customer how the order transmission works. So the robots need orders, and this has to come from the interface, from the WMS. So this is also what we talk about in the pre-project phase, how this all works and how do we get a fluent order transmission to the robots.
Yeah, and I can imagine, certainly if you say it's an addition to the human workforce, by already taking the spikes out of the demand curves. I think that's also a valuable argument when you discuss with your workers representatives in getting more acceptance for it. And what you're actually trying to do is say that the more stupid work is being outsourced to a robot, and where humans can add value, we'd like them to add the value, because the demand peaks the demand is growing so fast, and you cannot get per staff in most cases anyway, or it's difficult. Let me put it like that. So that's a good addition to create more value with people, Absolutely. With the same people, I think.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so thank you very much. But with terms of performance, there's also the other side. In terms of outages, how much percent do you see that there are issues or still problems? So let's say growing pains, let me put it like that, when it comes to the robots. What are the main reasons for robots to stop performing?
When you look at the picture here, you see how, let's say, the shoe boxes are piling up on the shelves. And that is, let's say, an ideal scenario, obviously. So the robot needs to have a certain warehouse hygiene factor in order to be able to work, right? And this, to be honest, this helped us as well. I mean, the rules are not huge, and they are not difficult. You need to have maybe a little bit of a distance between one pile to the other, but it's not like this. It's below a centimeter or around a centimeter that you can work with. And the piles need to be always, front facing, right? So with the barcode to the robot. And this helped us, to be honest, in this particular area to increase as well the warehouse hygiene factor, and to reduce, obviously, as well to improve the stock counts, to reduce mistakes, etc. Humans. But the situation that you see here on the picture is something that the robot can work with. As well, the stacks of 5, 6, 7 cartons above each other is something that is fine for the robot. As long as the robot can pick from the top, right? If the robot needs to choose, and that's something that the robot obviously can do, which we have not implemented, is when you have different SKUs in one stack, then the robot can as well, pick one from the bottom or something, push the others back. And there, I guess that the number of cartons is too high, but in general, we have a single SKU pick location, which then helps, obviously, to fill the locations with more product, right?
So okay, so if that's wrong, then it might be that they have issues picking. What are other reasons that you do as a sensoring, or what kind of other issues do you see?
We have them now running since actually a couple of months, and I mean, they automatically know when the battery is empty, so they go back to the charging station. You need to clean the sensors now and then if there is a dust situation or something, but that's basically it. And what we have seen now over the past weeks, that if there is a situation for the robot, maybe there is a pallet in the way and he really cannot pass through and he's stuck or whatever, then he sends an information to an app, and then the operator can jump there and support somehow.
I see one question that I would like to add immediately. This from Dennis Bouw. How many robots are currently running in the Asics operation? And perhaps in addition to that, so that everyone has a good idea of what it actually looks like, perhaps Julia, you can also show the video.
Sure. I think, Mark, you just have to stop screening.
Do I? Okay.
Sharing, I think then I can.
How can I do that? I can do that. Okay.
Perfect. Just a second. And I will show. I think it's better to see it on the video.
The number is 6, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. So exactly. So in the video there are still I think 4 running. So now there are 6 in the area. And before playing the video, like we are in the operations at the moment of B2B also business, like reorder business, so small items per order, what Michael already said. And I hope you can all see the video. So this is how the charging station looks like. So the robot gets orders, it autonomously drives and starts picking. So at Asics at the moment, we are doing especially the outbound orders, so picking, because as Michael said, they have SKU, the same SKU per location. So humans are super fast in replenishing, right? They are taking 5 boxes, pulling them in. So the business case for the robot is of course much more better in picking the items. And we have like this integrated shelf, we call it backpack, where we can transport within one picking route up to 16 boxes. And the robot is then like doing its round, taking 16 boxes and handovering, in this case, on like a pick card. It's a pretty simple handover station, no need to change your infrastructure. And we even sort the boxes on this location. That the human is coming, taking the card, bringing it directly to the packing, and then the goods can be packed. But of course, our goal in a future vision or common goal is to also, like for example, the singles, what I mentioned is also to like maybe automatically pack them, or that we have an autonomous flow, automated flow. So yeah, that's basically the process we are working in at Asics so far, and 6 robots at the moment.
Are there order? Can it be that orders are split over several robots, or is it when sorting to the cart, or is it every one robot is just working on one order?
That can be, definitely. So it really depends. Basically, what we are doing is we are creating a batch of outbound deliveries, orders, and handing it over via the IT interface to the robot operating system. And then the robot operating system knows where, in which location, which product is, basically, and optimizes the batch based on the number of currently available robots, based on certain priority logic that we give them, based on the environment, etc., and based off the free pick cards currently. So it can be that, let's say, all 6 robots are working on one particular order if needed, fulfilling them and then moving to the next. So, but that's fully within the logic of the operating system.
And the best, maybe to add something to this, like the optimal way for us is really to get a pool of picking tasks, so that we can batch, like we can apply our logic of batching it to robots. So for example, if we only get 40 picking tasks aligned to one card, it really limits us in using the robot system in an optimal way, and also increasing the performance. This also has an impact on the whole running system.
If I can enter one question that already came in from Jaswant Kabrani. I hope I pronounced it correctly. So sorry if I'm not. What happens if a box is dropped during the pick or during transport?
That is indeed something that would be announced with an information to the operator, and the operator would need to help the robot out. So the robot cannot, go there and pick it up, which is not that.
Okay.
In terms of number of robots, so we started indeed with 4 robots in a rather small area, which was, let's say, our pilot, right? Because we wanted to prove the concept first in a rather small area with indeed, let's say, limited investment, but still with a quite decent number of robots to have the performance. And over the past months, we saw that it's going quite okay. So we increased the number to 6, and actually that was, I think, in December the last 2 robots came in, and since then are operating in production. right?
Okay.
Increase as well the space, right? So from a small number of shelves to now actually full shelf area in the building.
Okay. So when we come to the implementation part, you decide to go for Magazino robots. What is the timeline that you normally have to take into account from the point that you say, okay, let's start our partnership until the moment that the first robots are online and running?
That fully depends on your IT, I would say.
As usual. But
Well, I think
give an insight on how long it took you to be up and running.
You want, Julia?
I think from the first meeting to really having the robots on site, I think it was around on average it's around 1 year, but I think we had around 6 or 7 months that we really had the robots on site. And during this time before, we had a lot of meetings about how is the process, what are the specifications for the IT interface, to get that all prepared before the robots are coming on site and not just starting then doing everything. So that it needs some discussions in advance, of course, and then it always depends how the approval process and budget of the customer, how this process internally works to get those kind of projects approved. So this is usually we call it the cycle before really the robot got delivered.
Sure. When it comes to implementation, how does the customer have to change a lot? Did you have to change a lot on your technical infrastructure, say your racking, your shelves, your shelf infrastructure, etc., or the surface or anything?
Actually not, and that was really one of the big advantages and one of the decision points as well towards Magazino, right? Because that's something that basically we used our own shelves that we had already. We did not change the floor. We added some, reflective stickers or tape here and there for the robot to help understand the environment, bought the pick cards, and that was basically from an infrastructure right. So it is our own Wi-Fi that we already had in the building, which the guys are connected to. Obviously in the IT part, right, the interface, that is something that you can either do in a big scale, right, with all the details sending back and forth, or you can reduce it, right? And we decided, to be honest, to do a phased approach there, to in the first phase keep the IT interface as with only the really mandatory data in order to get the things rolling. And now in the second phase, we are increasing the number of data or the detail grade of information that we are sharing back and forth in order to improve the efficiency, right? And as well, in order to, get more information from the robot, because you can imagine that when the robot is driving next to the shelf, his eyes are open, right? So what he can do is he can, for instance, as well count the number of units in your pick location. No? It's inventory control in a certain way, or he can confirm that a particular pick location is empty while he's passing through, which is not yet, let's say, live and not yet within our business case, but it's something as a future outlook. What they are doing as well, they can measure, the size of the volume of your parcels, which can be an information that we can send back and forth through the systems in order to increase the level of accuracy.
One thing of the future that you would like to dive deeper into, to use information that the robot is collecting for improving your car. Okay. Yeah. From an employee point of view, I mean, in a weird way, you could say it's sort of a competition, especially given the fact that it's a man to goods or a robot to goods solution. How did you deal with that? How did that process go? Was it an easy process, or?
I must admit it was it was a good process. So what we did very early in the conversations, we included our workers' council, which typically in Germany is quite strong in companies this size. So we included the workers' council, explained what are our goals with this automation and with the robots, which again was to help staff and not to lay off staff in the now changing environment. I think at a certain point of time, we had obviously our quarterly all hands meetings in the building where we invited magazino, so to speak, where we showed videos. At a certain point of time, we had the robots here, so we made some showcases in the building and let people touch and watch the robots. And that helped people to understand, okay, hey, it's not an enemy that is coming into the building, but it's someone that can help me and can help us as a team to become more performant, right? And performance KPIs in the warehouse are one of the key elements.
Mm-hmm.
So that's beneficial. Yeah.
Okay, so the resistance was you sorted the resistance out by good communication, so to speak.
Yeah, that was the idea, really, to proactively communicate and to cut down any kind of resistance. Yeah.
If you take a look at the implementation process, what are your lessons learned, or what would you do differently if you would have to do it over again?
What I would do differently, I think that there are certain elements, in particular in the interface and IT topic, where we would benefit from when we would have put more effort into that. Put more resources, in particular on Asics side, into this topic in order to speed up certain things. Because you can imagine that, if you come up with a project maybe a little bit unannounced to the general IT team, and they have a project chart agenda already for the year, then it's difficult to squeeze in some time in order to support that. And definitely, that's why I was saying it a couple of minutes ago, as well as IT is a topic, because if the interface works properly, then the rest is fine, I guess.
Yeah.
And maybe one remark. So we had for a long time so-called deployers from Magazino on site, who are here 3 days a week, 4 days a week with the robots in the very first phase, and are supporting the go live, right? And supporting the ramp up phase. After a couple of months, they leave and they hand over everything to the own operators. This is a situation which really helps as well to understand, to find out the details and to increase the performance.
And Julia, from your perspective, what would you say? Would you have organized perhaps differently, or in another way? Yeah, another way.
I think it's basically like the similar topics, like to maybe also get like the IT involved in a more earlier stage, also from our side, just bringing them together on a table and discussing things, because I tend to like that things are really easy in IT, but when I talk to my IT colleagues, sometimes it's bigger than expected, and so it's really helpful to really include them in also the process in the warehouse, not only like from our perspective, that was a learning from us. So not only the robot is important to what we have for requirements, but also to match this with the customer process. And this is from every project is different. So that was also learning from us also in the last month with different customers, but also with Asics, that we are not only looking at our robot. It's really important also to look at the whole end-to-end process to really get the most out of it. And an end-to-end process, I mean like really the process integration. Not only the process integration from the magazino classes, but also from the customer.
Absolutely. So optimization over the entire process, and not just saying, okay, I have the solution for the small piece of the process where I could use the robot, so to speak.
Exactly, and more came also on our desk that we are not only implementing into brownfield operations like we did here in Krefeld, but also that customers are coming to us saying, hey, we want to build a totally new warehouse. We have a hall here. We want to do our e-commerce business, look at the data, and please design a process concept for us. So that's what we learned a lot in the last month, doing it together with customers and also with external partners.
I think you have interesting partners for that.
Maybe so in our last financing round.
I think so. Yeah. All right. Taking a look at the future, Michael, you already indicated some things that you would like to do with the robot more. So use the data more. Are there other fields? I mean, at the moment they're only picking. Are there other fields where you could imagine that the robots will be used?
Definitely. I mean, as said, today we are picking. What we will look at is the count and control, master data, so the measurement. We need to look at replenishment as well in order to, and we need to understand where replenishment does make sense. Because as Julia said, putting 5, 6 shoes into a pick location is maybe easier by a human or faster. But in, let's say, in a situation where e-com is growing and growing, we are discussing right now, and as well together with Julia and the team, we are discussing right now a whole process from, let's say, e-com returns, e-com replenishment, e-com warehousing, and e-com outbound. And that's something there where we are as well learning, let's say, and elaborating what would be the right sized model for us. Ideas, nothing which is on paper fully yet, but ideas can be that you have an area in the building with, let's say, A-movers, right, for e-com, where you let this area handle by 99.9% by the robots only. So you have handover stations where you put the full cartons on the returns. During the night, the robot is taking product replenishment the shelf. During the day or whenever is outbounding, so picking out of the shelf and then dropping indeed and the singles or doubles, etc., onto a belt to a packing machine. Right? That there is really no human interaction really needed. That's in our heads. Whether it will be this year, next year, or never, we don't know. But at least that's let's say a potential that we are discussing right now. Yeah.
And from your perspective, Julia, not just looking at the Asics operation, what other fields do you see developments for you for robots from Magazino perspective?
Yeah, so maybe you also know that Magazino not only has the robot for picking shoeboxes, we also have it's called Soto, a robot which is still in a piloting phase, but handling bigger like totes, especially for production supply. So we have their development partners like BMW, so more from the manufacturing area, not like from e-com fulfillment fashion. So this is one area we want to go with. So different, let's say use cases for our robots we have. So also with Tohu for picking shoe boxes, it doesn't have to be a shoebox, right? So we are also still open, or we are open for different kind of objects having the dimension of a shoebox. So it can be also evolved and adding new use cases. And also like what Michael said for replenishment, that we also, there are still like also our robots are still improving and getting better. New features are coming in. For example, we are at the moment evaluating if we can pick out of a full card box, so that there's coming from replenishment the full card box with 20 shoe boxes from the same SKU, and we can directly pick out of this card box. So those are all aspects or areas we are open also discuss with the market and with the customer to develop this and to evolve here.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for the conversation. It's really, really interesting, and thank you for the insight. I already saw that a lot of my questions have been answered, and I already took some questions that were already posted. Yeah. But there are a lot of interesting other ones which I would like to give the opportunity to take a look at. So we're going to switch to a Q&A session where we can add these questions.
Yeah.
So I would like to say some of them have already been answered. I don't know.
I think there were some about racking and aisles, like
exactly. I'm just scrolling through them. Sorry.
No problem.
So all right, then I think I can.
There is obviously So are the requirements to the hardware as racking, shelf, walk aisles, or are there any preferred dimensions? So I guess that you can, optimize, and you can have the perfect shelves, etc., which potentially can be a walk aisle, which is really 90 centimeter, where you can have one robot, and then you have a very narrow, and you have a situation that you can, maximize the space. Which would be my solution, which can fit in a certain situation, right? For us, it was important to really not touch yet any aisle and any shelf, and just use the ones that we have. And yes, we have a, let's say, double stacked shelf. That's true. And however, we are picking right now only the first ones, right? So a single stacked shelf would definitely increase, I guess, the reachability of product. However, we decided for that and still are happy with the performance. Yeah.
All right. Then a next question, which is a little bit adding on to the previous one. It's about going into height.
Yeah.
In a previous interview, you mentioned, Julia, that the robots are also suitable for mezzanines.
Yeah, exactly. But like at the moment, or like from our experience from different projects, it's also we can reach 2.50 meters at the moment. So the upper shelf is 2.50 meters. Like the use case with our robots is that there's still humans in the same area, right? So if humans want to pick on the same height, 3.50 meters, I think, is too high for humans. So
not even in Holland.
Maybe they have all basketball players as bigger, but so what we hear for feedback from the customer, that 2.50 meters is a good height for increasing the volume and to use this shelf as added on top. But what you mentioned, we can of course drive on mezzanines. We have some limitations on the surface load. So like the weight of the robot is 295 kilo with payload. So when boxes are in, they're fully stacked. So this has to be considered when thinking about driving with the robots on pick towers or mezzanines. But usually, it's no problem or no challenge.
Okay, Michael, there's a very good question for you. What about the warehouse in south of France that you benchmark productivity?
Oh yes, that's a nice game that we are playing on a daily basis. Who did more, who did it faster, etc.
I can imagine. Yeah.
However, it's to be honest, it's really difficult to compare because the order structure is different, the layout is completely different in the warehouse in south of France. But what we are comparing is comparable. Let's say it like that. And well, I mean, we don't have robots, this particular type of robots in this other warehouse, let's say yet. Slightly different order structure there. So let's see. I mean, the idea was to check it out at this warehouse, in particular due to e-com and the high number of small orders, which and what the future will bring. Let's see.
In addition to this question, I already asked the question on ROE, and there was another one on ROI in the question. What is it? Can you elaborate a little bit deeper into it? On it, sorry.
On the return on investment. Well, I mean, simple sheet. We did it together with Magazino, so we tried to understand all the different angles that we have, which is obviously the investment, right? Which is obviously the service fees, the server fees, whatever you need to take in there, the electricity, and the total price of ownership, let's say. Then it's the investment on our side. So what does the interface cost? What is the internal labor for the whole project? Let's say, and then what is our performance for this particular order type per hour, per day, per week? And that's the operational, benchmark of, okay, the human can pick, 5 units during an hour, and the robot is doing 7.5. So that's where the cost savings, let's say, come from, which then ideally overcompensate the so basically, yeah, everything, but the plus from
which is the right approach, I think, yes. Okay. You already mentioned the double D boxes. So I would like to go to the next, which was one of the questions that came up. Required maintenance. How is maintenance organized, Julia?
So, like when we close a project, we also have like service level agreement, let's say, so which includes a service and maintenance contract. So there continuous maintenance every half a year, where a magazino service guy is coming on site, checking on the robots, what Michael said, cleaning the sensors, making sure that everything is running. And then on the other hand, in this service and maintenance contract, we also have a remote service. So, for example, if there's a problem with the robot, Michael can dial a number, a service hotline, and there's a magazino guy answering and trying to can go on remotely on the robot and can fix the problem. So this is like what is included in this service level agreement, and also some spare parts, which are also like part of the contract. So, but usually it's a half yearly on site, like really checking on the hardware. But of course, like this was also a question, like more errors are coming like from the software, or that the robot is maybe not seeing the barcode or anything like this. So this can be also managed by our remote service. And we also, maybe add to this, train people on site. When handing over the robot system, we train the operation to also fix smaller issues, right? With videos like an IKEA description, where you can see what you have to fix and how do you do it. So you don't have to be a technical guy to do this. So we offer, or like we do trainings there as well. Okay,
excellent. There has been a question by Jasmond again about further services that you would like to or expect a robot to do. In addition to what has already been said, I think.
Okay. Well, it's a good question.
I mean, that's obviously a different, difficult thing, right? What we said is handing over instead of on pick cards on a belt, which will obviously help the downstream process. The replenishment is a topic. The controlling or the counting is definitely a topic for us, which would be the next level, I guess. Yeah.
Also master data, or like, because we take with every pick, we take like the length and width of the box. So there you can compare it with your already existing master data, or you can or implement an interface where we give the master data to the customers. So this can be added value as well.
Yeah, absolutely, for optimizing packaging, etc. Yeah.
What would be great would be a scale in the robot as well, so that we can, not only have the dimensions, but as well.
I know. Wish.
I should charge her.
Yeah, you can.
Very interesting question again from Martijn. If you have a Martijn Bakker, if you have a greenfield situation, would you also choose the solution that you chose?
I guess that really depends on the business that you have and on the business case that you have. But to be very honest, for shoe boxes, that still makes sense, right? So for shoe boxes, this is a solution where you can have, let's say, robots helping you out during the night, etc. For the baseline, let's say. Then you have in the same area you can pick your humans, and you can, in a multi-channel warehouse, you can still do all your manual work that you need to do, right? And you do this in one area with humans and robots next to each other. Well, for this business case, if my business would be like it is today, I guess yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then one last one before we wrap it up, because time has flown by very quickly. From Willem Scheurs, what is your view on the future of this kind of robots compared to the development of movable shelving, where robots move to single racks?
Mhm.
Again, my view on it is definitely both solutions are great, and it depends on your environment, right? So when I have a shelf with, let's say, very tiny things like, accessories or cables or even T-shirts, right? Or socks or whatever, then potentially a moving shelf, which brings me the goods to the human or to the packing station, is an interesting case, which, to be honest, is worth looking at. And then you have the shoe boxes or any other things which have the dimensions for the total, which is definitely next to each other important. Yeah.
And maybe you can also combine it, like that.
Exactly.
For example, we put on a cart, on a big cart, and a AGV is coming, driving under the cart and bringing it. Like it depends on the infrastructure, what you said, and where's the shelving, where's the packing, what is the distance.
Interesting. Yeah.
That is, I think, what Julia said, that you need to look not only at robots and the picking process, but as well into upstream and downstream processes and how to integrate it into the whole chain. Where it makes sense.
Oh, very interesting. So thank you very much for answering all of our questions, not just mine, but also from our viewers. That also means that we come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much to the both of you and all of our viewers for being here today. It has been really interesting. I learned a lot. Should any one of you still have questions that are currently not answered, or you haven't, or you come up later, then please contact us, and we'll make sure that we'll get you in touch with everybody so that you get your answer that you need. If you'd like to take another look at the webinar, it's going to be recorded. It's going to be published on the same link that you used before to enter the webinar, but also on YouTube, so you can look it up there. I think so. Thank you to the both of you, to our excellent speakers, for their contribution. It's been really insightful. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, I would just add, like, if you want to get in touch with the technology or see the robot in your infrastructure, what we offer since end of last year, we did this kind of total roadshow around Europe, where because all fairs are cancelled and you don't have the chance to see the robot really or getting in touch with it. So we come for example, for one day on the site, showing the robot with your boxes and with the infrastructure. Of course, not with a live interface because it needs more effort, but just also to get all the stakeholders on site and showing the technology. So if you're interested, just ping me a message.
All right, excellent. That sounds very interesting. So that's again, many thanks to all of you, and I hope to see you all again in our next webinar. And a special thanks to Magazino for helping us organize this today. It was really appreciated. And till the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.